Hello, everybody. Hello, it's George from Ireland. So, welcome back to my channel yet again. And in this video, I'm going to be considering immigration into the United Kingdom. And much of what I say would also apply to us in the Republic of Ireland. But anyway, I'm in the UK right now. So, every country has always had immigration, always shall have immigration, with the possible exception of North Korea. Remember Sir Tony Blair, not my favorite statesman, saying the fundamental question to ask about any country is, are people trying to get in or are people trying to get out? And that will tell you a lot about the state of the country. But anyway, the United Kingdom should take it as an enormous compliment that certain people are willing to cross half the globe, be smuggled in sealed sections of lorries and tie themselves under lorries and go across in leaky boats to get to the United Kingdom because it's such a desirable place to live. And it really is a riposte to those who say the UK is some sort of racialist dystopia. But anyway, the UK has obviously got to manage its immigration policy. Just about every country has a limitation on it. Methinks I'm correct in saying that the Republic of the Argentine is the only country which doesn't have a limitation on who can come in. That's in the constitution, the right to immigrate. They actually seek immigrants because, of course, when Argentina was founded as an independent state about 1820, its population density was very, very low. And it's got an enormous land area, something like the 20th biggest in the world. So they wanted to fill the country, which they successfully did. But to the 20th century, various economic crises meant that the flow really slowed down after the 1950s. Um, so the United Kingdom needs immigration, as I adumbrated herein before. Why? To fill certain gaps in the labour market and so on. And obviously, immigrants can contribute, and some immigrants can be bad. But I think that's rather few people. Obviously, most of us are a mixture of good and bad. And there's this idea on the left that immigrants have to be canonized, and I don't think they're bad people. Very seldom bad people, but they're not saintly. They're self-seeking. Fine, so am I. That's to be human. You want a better life. It's not a terrible thing to do. And I know that we all come from the Rift Valley in Africa. So in that sense, we're all immigrants if you trace it back long enough. So the United Kingdom only dates back to 1707. When we look at constituent countries, for want of a better word, let's take England. Obviously, that's only existed since, when is it? In any sense, since the 8th century AD. But whatever polity, the first person who stepped foot on that island of Great Britain, did Great Britain exist as a country at that time? I mean, I don't think so. When does whatever little kingdoms it was created, like Kent, for example, was a little kingdom. When the first human being set foot in Kent, did the kingdom exist then? No, I don't think so. These things are gradual. But anyway, we've organized ourselves into sovereign states, and they have to control the flow of people because otherwise the flow would be too many, it would become a problem. Because, oh, racialist, you're saying swamp, that's so racialist. So there's some people who think that any attempt to control it, any management is automatically racialist, which is obviously preposterous. I don't seek to keep out any race, a group of races, or religion, or anything like that. They treat people as individuals. So I'm a totally unprejudiced person, extremely cosmopolitan. Been to 93 sovereign states, traveled extensively in South Asia, for instance, on my Jack Joan, and sometimes went several days without seeing another white face. So I'm very much a miscegenator, believer in race mixing in every sense. And so the United Kingdom is a multiracial society. I saw this datum on Instagram. I can't remember which channel it was. Is those who say they hate non-European immigrants. Hate, my goodness, that's a potent word. And go through all the European countries, and the United Kingdom was the lowest at 24%, which is still appallingly high. Only hate non-European immigrants. To hate European immigrants, I'm assuming, is a bit lower because there's some color prejudice there. I mean, ideally, it'd be 0% would hate immigrants from anywhere. But got to be realistic. Unfortunately, there are always going to be a few knuckle-dragging bigots around. So the UK should do a needs assessment, that they need so many people who are IT engineers or dentists or pharmacists or farm laborers or whatever. And the one thing is obviously to force people in the United Kingdom to actually work rather than seeing being on benefits as a career path. Too many NEETs, not employment, education, or training, or carrying on their education forever. Education policies been going complete the wrong direction for decades. A complete victory of quantity over quality. The idea is to have as many people in education for as long as possible, rather than to achieve the most, even in a shorter period of time, even leaving education at the age of 18 or 16 completely for most people, and entering the labor market. So make it inviable to avoid working, and you're going to have to pick potatoes. You're going to have to mop floors. You're going to have to provide personal care to geriatrics in nursing homes. There is no alternative. No, we're not going to give you handouts. So anyway, we'd have to recruit the people that need to work there. Some of them work in the public sector, of course, and then companies. You could auction off the visas, say, we're going to sell this many visas for £10,000, and companies will bid for them, 10,000 visas, that amount. We're going to auction off another lot of visas at 15,000, and then you can invite whoever you want, and so on. One thing, so I mean, I broadly agree with the government's policy of reducing immigration. Like 750,000 net per annum is obviously far too high, a far cry from David Cameron's completely bogus and grossly dishonest figure of 100,000 max. And if it wasn't for Brexit, it'd be even higher, because there'd be no control of those coming in from European Union countries. Of course, EU people can still come and live in the United Kingdom. They just need to get a visa. So that's obviously a bit of a pain in the neck. And I would make it much more streamlined, maybe one form to fill out, and that's it, decision quite quickly, maybe even charge people more, but give them a quick decision. Where I think the current policy of His Majesty's government is heartless is with regard to spouses. So as they say, that only the wealthy dare fall in love. Everybody has the right to love, no matter how affluent or how impecunious. So people have to earn a salary of at least 38k to bring in a spouse, and that's preposterously high. Anyone on minimum wage should be allowed to bring in anyone he or she loves from any country in the globe. And even before that, when the income threshold was much lower, they were saying that you're going to have to, it took months and loads of paperwork, which is preposterous. And by the way, if your foreign spouse is a billionaire, that doesn't count. No, it's your earnings. That's ridiculous. What if she or he is bringing in tons of money? So I think that's where they got it wrong. And the government says, well, in cases where it cause undue harshness, we'll mitigate it. Well, that would just be about every case, because if your significant other lives in Indonesia or Guatemala or whatever, or Uganda, you can't easily see that person. It's exorbitantly expensive, particularly those people on lower incomes can't be afforded to be flying around the globe all the time. So this really is ridiculous. And there'll be some backlash. So much for the Conservative Unionist Party being the party of the family. So I'm sure a Labour government will come in and abolish that one. But how on earth are we going to get a handle on this? So what I would do with regard to the European Union, I'd say, okay, you can all come in for 180 days, no questions asked. You don't need a visa if you're a student. So long as you're acceptable at whatever course, college, you can just come. You can arrive at least a month before your course. You can stay for like 3 months after your course to wind up your affairs, something like that. And to fill gaps in the labour market, I might even say to European Union people, okay, you can work for 90 days per annum, okay? And there's only 90 days of actual work. Don't need a visa for that. Rest days don't count towards that total of 90, something like that. And that would really reduce the number of people who need to be working. I'd have a sort of a highly favoured nation list of countries, about 40 countries, which don't need visas to stay for up 180 days. And that will include the whole European Union, economic free trade area like Norway, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, San Marino, the Vatican City, Andorra, Monaco, and places like Canada, USA, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand. In short, affluent countries, Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates, countries where people are wealthy and very unlikely to want to stay illegally. So that would just streamline things. And to some extent, we already have this. They're not even spoken to at immigration. They just scan their passport and they go. No questions asked, because they virtually never ever stay. Right, so that's my penny's worth. What do you think? So please answer in a postcard, and make sure you subscribe to me on Patreon and donate on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Bye.